Ooh, I see the live button on.
Yeah,
Yep.
we're live.
Yep.
You're live, so whatever you're saying now is being recorded. No pressure. Yeah, what we'll do actually is probably just get underway with things and see who turns up. So because we're going into the unknown a wee bit, we've run these sessions, a hangout in here before with the AGM, but we want to actually run basically a few teacher sessions using it to see how it goes. So I'm just trying to remember what happens. But basically, people should come in, or they might be actually viewing the broadcast even now. So it's interesting. I'm just going to actually go to the control panel. There's something I want to change. Actually, the camera.
How's your class going, Marina?
It's going good, Gary. Yeah.
Yeah.
How's your moderating going?
Yeah.
I hear you had fun on Friday, trying to get through as much as you could.
We did. Yeah, we were a little bit naughty, and I'm blaming your colleague for that.
Yeah, that's right. You can.
Yeah, no, she's great. She's very sharp and very dedicated.
Yeah.
So it's good for me. Keeps me in line a wee bit. Yeah. So are you level 1 or level 2?
Level 1.
Level
yeah,
1.
just level 1. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Right.
I'm
going to interrupt you too. We can on that. What we'll do is we'll have a chat. Then we're hoping that there's people out there watching. So we shall see. I can invite more in terms of the session itself, but we don't necessarily need to. So what we'll do is we'll go through the three of us, and we're going to start with Garry. And each time, if you just introduce yourselves and just say, what you teach, what school you're from, etc. Basically, that's the focus for the session today. This is the first in a series of sessions where we basically just want to have chats with teachers about what they're doing. It's a chance for you guys to showcase a few things and have a focus each time on a particular aspect. So this time, sort of looking at trying to promote interaction, collaboration, connection between students, that whole idea of developing some sense of community, even though it might be different levels of it. And each one of the teachers here has done something to do that, and each one is actually quite different in a way. So we'll just go through, and if we've got any questions from those watching, please fire them through the Q&A, and we can answer them. I said we're going to the unknown. This is the first time you used Hangout on here to do this sort of thing, so it's a bit of a trial for the three of us anyway. And Marina and Garry, if you want to ask any questions of each other as well, feel free. So basically do a wee show and tell and then have some questions afterwards. We have a chat, I suppose, afterwards. So lucky first, Garry.
Yeah, thank you, Darren, for the invite.
Actually, before we start with you, we'll introduce each other. We'll each introduce ourselves so everyone knows who we are, and then we'll start with you. So, Garry, who are you?
I'm Garry Brittenden, and I teach at Akaroa Area School, teach social studies and history. And I have been an online teacher with Darren for, I think this must be about my 4th or 5th year. It just goes so fast and so exciting that I can't quite keep count of the years. So, yeah. And I've been each year I've been doing level 1 history.
Yes, I was going to ask you that. It has been going for a while. Sorry, we'll get, because I'm getting little things coming through saying, is the broadcast on? And I'm just going to reply and say yes. So we may find that we're just chatting amongst ourselves, actually, which is quite nice if it was just that, to be honest. But Emily has just asked, is the broadcast on? So if those of you, basically, I know if they're watching, they're in. So I'm just going to say yes. Marina, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yep, I'm Marina Krijgsman. I teach at Rangiora New Life School. I teach economics and mathematics, and I've been teaching under NetNZ for 3 years now. And I teach level 1 economics with NetNZ.
Awesome. And I'm Darius Hudlow. I'm on the NetNZ executive, and I'm registered at Ashburton College. I teach 2 courses online. One is level 2 history, following on from Garry, and the other is Crafting History, which is basically a project-based course using Minecraft to build historical context, and that's the one I'm going to talk about today in terms of the community thing. So, Garry, do you want to launch ahead? I know you've been had a wee trial with the sharing your desktop, so you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready to go. I'll just
tell us about what you've done.
Yeah, so teaching a year 11 class, there's a few challenges in terms of enabling them to be confident speakers and confident interactors, and yeah, it's a one step forward, 2 steps back, or 2 steps forward, 1 step back, whatever. It can be a bit of a slow and challenging process with level 1 students. So I've tried a few things over the years to try and develop collaboration, and they all sort of work to a certain extent. And this year on the Google Plus page, call it Google Plus page. What do you call it? The NetNZ page, my history page.
You mean your community?
My community. That's the word. Sorry, my community. Yeah, I'm not that good on jargon. Okay, so yeah, sometimes when you're doing history topics or academic topics, then they don't have a lot of depth of knowledge to speak freely or openly or express opinions, and they can be very reluctant. So I thought I'd try just throwing ideas or topics at them that they would have an opinion on that would maybe affect them, just as a warm-up to the lesson. I would put up something provocative on the page, like the death penalty should be reintroduced, and ask them to comment, and then we would have a bit of a free-for-all at the lesson. So I'll just see if I can get the page up.
And while you're doing that, we do have viewers. If you don't know if you two can see, but down the bottom, do you see NetNZ teacher case studies right at the bottom there? Your screen? You might not, but we've got 5 viewers currently, and Anne just put a message through saying that it's all broadcasting well, and so keep going, Garry.
So what am I doing? It says that I'm screen sharing now. Am I?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, you're just going to talk me through this again.
All you need to do now is go to open another tab at the top and go to your community. See that? Oh, that's right. You've got it sorted. So your own computer, isn't it? You've got a bookmark somewhere.
Yeah, I have. Hopefully, I've got a bookmark here. Here we are. So here we are on my page. So what I've been putting up, because we're doing the nuclear free topic and the Rainbow Warrior, I've been putting up a cartoon each week, and we've just been talking about that. But last term, if I scroll down to last term, snowy day, I had a day one morning off. I had to take a photograph from my bedroom to actually prove to the kids that I couldn't get to school over the hill. Yeah, I get them to watch. You've probably seen this video, Why I Hate School But Love Education. Other topics I've put up was things like parents should be allowed to smack, teenagers these days have it too easy, just things, the death penalty always gets kids talking, and there are a few other ones. And yeah, I would try and encourage them to write a response, their opinion, and then I would try and get them to interact with the others. So here's one on, this seemed to provoke a bit of a response. Teenagers have it too easy. Some of them would come up with some quite thoughtful things. You know, some of them wouldn't. And quite often they would write quite long ones. And other times, you know, they would just throw a word or two in. The difficult part was to get them to comment to each other about each other's comments, really, to respond and to develop a banter online. It happened a bit more successfully in the during VC period, so where they could actually listen and yeah. Are you still there, Darren?
Absolutely. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's okay. I just clicked something and I thought, oh, I've clicked the wrong thing. Yeah. So this one was quite interesting.
Oh, we can't see your screen anymore, Gary.
Oh, right. What have I clicked?
I'll just go back to screen share. You might have stopped it somehow.
Is that on now? Is that there?
Not at the moment.
Okay. So I press the little green one. Go to. Oh, okay. Here we go. There we go. And back to there. Yeah. So I was actually surprised of how on some of the topics, like should the death penalty come in, how sophisticated and thoughtful they were, and I could always throw in a bit of a wind-up comment, and that would get them going again. But yeah, I think overall we had some really good discussions, and oops, oh geez. Now I've done the wrong thing. I did what you did, Darren.
It's just because you're on the Hangout. So if you just stop it.
Stop that. How do I stop now? Stop sharing.
Mm-hmm.
There.
There we go.
Okay. Sorry about that. I keep in my excitement of being for YouTube. I keep pressing the wrong button. Yeah, so the responses have been good. I think next year what I'll do, though, I think it'd be a really good way to kick the year off, because I think it'll give me a good gauge of where their academic ability is at, because you can just pick it up through their responses, they're written and oral, and it'll be a good introduction. And so I think that this will be what I'll do for the first 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, and spend like half the period, perhaps on it, half the VC time, doing that. I think it might be a better approach. But it was interesting.
Did you achieve what you wanted to? What were you trying to achieve with the discussions?
I suppose what I was trying to achieve was debate, and we didn't so much have debate on the community page. We did get more debate on screen, so that was better.
Oh, so when you did the video conference, you basically continued the discussion in there, did you?
Yeah. We always began the first 10 minutes with a catch up. I would challenge them on their opinions or get them to justify it or whatever, because they'd written a response during the week, and then I could say, well, what do you think of that? Blah 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 to another member of the class. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's. You got any questions, Marina?
Yeah, Gary, I was just going to ask, did all students participate equally, or did you sort of find that you had some that dominated?
Absolutely, some that dominated, and certain topics. I think 2 or 3 of the topics all the class took part, and then some of the topics they just lost interest, or they realised that there was no achievement standard, no grades to be had out of it, and so they sort of opted out of it a bit. Yeah, and that's why I think building it in at the beginning of the year, and kind of make it a compulsory thing in a way, like encourage them that this is a way of me of assessing where they're at and whether they're up to doing a level 1 course, putting a little bit of an edge to it, that I really need to see them performing. Yeah.
Well, you made the comment earlier about year 11s. You think perhaps the younger kids, if they were older, that you might get a bit more of the discussion happening or a bit more debate going on?
Yeah, I think so, especially on controversial topics that teenagers are sort of interested in. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was quite fascinated by it because I had seen someone use quite topical discussion points before? You know, in terms of history, you often put out something related to what you were studying, but you didn't, which is quite interesting. But they're quite provocative.
Yeah.
So you did get quite a response. You can actually say that. I mean, in theory, some of the ideas that come through there could be relevant in terms of achievement standards if the discussion was relevant.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it doesn't. I actually quite like what you did because it wasn't actually directly related to the content. It was just about trying to get kids talking and interacting, really.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Now we've got 6 viewers. Anyone watching out there, feel free to put questions through in the Q&A there. You should better just send some questions through to us. The good thing is it's recorded, so we can anyone can watch it afterwards, and also that those questions can continue in a different form. So yeah. Now, Marina, are you ready to give us a bit of a spiel, a show and tell on what you've been doing?
Yeah, I'll because I couldn't guarantee that my system would work. I have created a PowerPoint, so so hopefully I'm going to share. Now, are you seeing it? Seeing my PowerPoint?
Yes, we are. Yeah.
I'm not.
You're not? Okay. I think yeah.
I am now. I am.
Yeah. I'll think I didn't screen share it properly, so.
No, if I click on your box, then there it is.
Okay.
Yeah, it was working fine,
No,
Marina.
because I've stopped sharing now. Okay, so entire screen is what I want to share, isn't it? And then go from there. There we go. Right. Okay, so what I used was knowledge building. I'm part of the NetNZ research project with Otago University looking at knowledge building. And I teach level 1 economics. A bit like Gary, one of the big challenges is getting the students to actually interact with each other. So knowledge building is really about the students working as a community, trying to build ideas and understandings. We used it in what's the producer unit, so they learn all about the decisions that producers make and the consequences for them. What I got the students to do is they built the ideas and then they had to synthesize the community's knowledge in their portfolio and then apply it to some actual producers' decisions that they did on case studies. So it involved this sort of idea of a community of learners, them working together to share, develop and build on ideas. And the idea is that they're working together to create supposed new knowledge, and that's sort of a challenging idea. It's really new knowledge for them as economists, as young economists, and they kind of take charge of the knowledge building journey. Now, the knowledge building communities have there's 12 principles, but I only focused on the following things. It was a requirement that they contributed and shared in the tool that we use, which was called Knowledge Forum, that they would improve on ideas or theories that were put up by other students, because all ideas are improvable, and this meant that they needed to listen to each other and read each other's contributions. Okay. Then they had to be responsible members of our economic community and contribute regularly. And also the whole idea of academic integrity, so they had to actually say where they got their information from. I set it up with them in the whole context of that this is how the real world works. I said to them that in my husband's business, he has to deal with problems every day. He never solves a problem by himself. He always works as part of a team. And so we were going to work as part of a team to explore the decisions that producers make and to create that knowledge. So instead of them relying on me for all the information, they had to build it together. And the way we did it was in this thing called Knowledge Forum, which was the tool that we used. So all the students contributed. So as you can see on your screen, this is just one screen clip of what happened. So what I would do is I'd put up a question to start the discussion, and most of the time the students' contributions that they put in happened during our VC time slot. Some of the students would contribute outside, but most of them contributed merely within that environment. And so you can see that my initial question is there, and then they're putting in responses related to that. So their responses could have been other questions, so they started to put in their own questions. Their questions tended to be what questions or who, so they tended to be a bit limited rather than the why and how open questions. This is one of their contributions. So in a contribution they would share their own ideas about the question. So this is one of my students, Jack's, what he said what productivity was all about. Some of them would share information that they found. So Claire's found some information from a website and she's posted that in. And some of the stuff that they shared was from the textbook that we used. And then they'd also give examples. And the examples were really good because this one from Claire was really showing a great understanding about what division of labour is, connecting it to something quite simple that that she was thinking about. Now, knowledge building really is about them taking an idea and actually continuing to build on it. The question that whether we got to knowledge building, I'm not sure. We did a lot of knowledge sharing. There was a lot of contributions. The students worked well together. And then they were able to write up fantastic summaries and their applications to this case studies really showed that they were able to build a deeper understanding of the producer decisions. What my students said about it, so here's 3 comments of what the students said. They liked the way it was laid out. They liked the fact that it wasn't too intimidating and that they could just contribute. It was quite interesting because we did it in the VC and they all would contribute within that time, and so they weren't sort of put off by the fact that lots of other people were putting lots up and they weren't. They were quite willing to share in that sort of environment. They liked how that it helped their understanding, and they really liked the concept of working together. So that, yeah, and so what would I do? What would I do differently? Well, next year I'll continue to use this format. I'll continue to use it because the students worked well together. I think I'd try to get a few more discussions amongst themselves rather than it all being written. One of the things that we didn't really do enough of was stopping and reviewing all the ideas together and synthesizing them as a class. They tended to do that individually, and so one of the comments the students had made was that sometimes they weren't sure if the definitions that were in Knowledge Forum were 100% correct for what they needed. So yeah, so that's what I did with my Level 1 economics class.
Garry, I mean, because we haven't got lots of questions flooding through on here, but have you got any questions from Marina? Do you get a sense of what she means by knowledge building and what the students were doing?
Yeah, no, I think that it's sort of just extending the use of that of your online learning by building on what kids can, like what they feel confident about contributing and build and taking from other students. I thought the comment about the fact that the first one there, the girl said it made her confidence grow because others had contributed and others would help her. Yeah, no, it sounds great.
What? Oh, sorry, Marina, where you go?
I was just going to say what was really nice about it was they started to value who they were and their ideas are. They, instead of because at Level 1 a lot of the time they're so used to being sort of spoon-fed information. Yeah. That they become quite locked in that, and they kind of look to the teacher figure all the time or a textbook. What was nice with this, it opened them up, and it allowed them to value that they actually had knowledge and they actually had understandings already, and that together they could actually build those up. A lot of the time they were quite surprised that what they had said in their initial ideas were exactly what the textbook and all the websites said as well. So it was it was quite affirming for them that they could actually have understandings and knowledge that they thought only belonged to the experts.
Yeah.
Did you have any challenges? What were the challenges involved, Marina?
Biggest challenge was, and like anything online, was the technology aspect in terms of the students being able to get into Knowledge Forum and utilise it. I had a few students who struggled with that, but that was probably one of the challenges. The other challenge that the students found, and that was probably because we were using it in the VC time, is that they tended to be contributing the same sort of things, and so there wasn't enough time. If they did it asynchronously, then they would actually see somebody else had already posted their idea, and therefore they could just build on that idea rather than posting the same idea. So that was probably one of the challenges. But being level ones, I find the outside of VC time, they're not so good on the time management and doing all the things that you would like them to do. Yeah, so that probably was a challenge.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's one of the difficult things, isn't it, in terms of the knowledge building side of things, is getting kids. I mean, I suppose it's some similarity with Garry, with the challenge that Garry identified with students giving their views, but then not actually connecting their views or trying to actually build on what each other's saying and create sort of some sort of ongoing connection. I mean, you said that you had some limited times where they did that, wasn't there? But most times they were just sort of putting their own ideas out there, and so you get a collection of ideas, and they all see each other's, which is great, but they didn't often actually sort of try and improve each other's ideas. Is that right, Marina?
Yeah. I mean, some of my students, my students who are operating at the excellent level, they were certainly, I've got evidence of them building on other people's ideas and extending them. But not a lot of that was happening. A lot of more, that's why I said, wasn't really knowledge building or knowledge sharing. They were sharing knowledge. What was nice as a teacher was that I was not forefront. I put up the initial question, sometimes directed some of the ideas, but a lot of the time I was just standing back, and a lot of my work really was commenting on their portfolios and giving them feedback there. So it was nice to see them building the knowledge without me sort of lecturing to them.
Yeah, certainly, and quite different for a lot of students. I had the similar experience to you in terms of a couple of years ago, where students would start, well, they would get a bit frustrated with students, their ideas, what they viewed as their ideas already been put out there, and so they go, oh, okay, someone's put in, I was going to do that, and so they either just put the same thing or they don't put anything at all, and they don't quite understand the concept, which is quite new to a lot of kids, the concept of actually, I can actually improve what the student said there. I can take what they've said and see where we can go with it, and then another student can do that as well. And it's quite an alien concept for a lot of kids, isn't it? Unfortunately. But they get a lot of benefit from what they do. Sorry, Garry.
Yeah, I'm going to say that the whole idea of collaborative learning, I think teachers are just getting their head around collaborative teaching, and it's another step again for students to really pick up on how everybody wins in a collaborative environment. So yeah, I think that's something that needs to be taught, built in, encouraged, worked on with our students.
You got Anne Williams, thank you so much. And send a question through. Can you two see the question, or is it just me?
No, I can't see the questions. Yeah.
You might have the Q&A function, might be able to see it. But anyway, Anne's asked, and actually both of you can answer this, but she said, do you think our students are scared to make mistakes? And do you think we've trained them to rely on the teacher? I mean, do you think they're scared to make mistakes?
I think they are, and I think that when you do things like the Knowledge Forum, it freed them up from making those mistakes. I think that they, because it's how well you set it up, so I had to set it up well for them to be confident that they could actually put their ideas in. And I did a lot of praise, so that was one of the advantages of doing it in the VC time. I would actually, comment on their contributions as they were putting them in, saying, oh, so-and-so's put in a really great idea about, and that built up their confidence. But I think they are a little bit afraid. This group is quite different. Last year's group, I don't think all my students would have participated as well as this group has, because I did have some of those students who wouldn't contribute in the Google community because they were afraid that their answers weren't as good as other students. Yeah.
What do you think, Garry? Did you experience that at all with what you were doing?
Yeah, a couple of things there. I think students are scared of making mistakes, but more in front of their peers than in front of the teacher. I have a feeling. I think they feel, I don't know, reasonably safe in front of the teachers, but they don't want to appear stupid in front of their mates. The other thing is, with the activity that I did, there was no right or wrong, so they couldn't really make a mistake. They were just provocative statements that they responded to, and so it was pretty safe for them to actually express themselves quite fully.
Yeah, one thing of not making mistakes, although that's certainly I have seen that, but also I've had students who are in such a visible environment where you're putting all your ideas, you're out there and it's visible to everyone, that some students are uncomfortable with that and comfortable with the idea that they're going to be judged or think they're going to be judged and lack confidence in that. I've certainly experienced that a bit, and it's just a matter of working through it with them. It is, for many of them, quite a different environment. I mean, Garry, do you think the system, in a way, the way we've done things traditionally, trains students to rely on the teacher?
Oh, I think you could go from classroom to classroom and get different answers, really. I don't think you could generalise. I think New Zealand is probably, if you jump into a classroom in the United States or Japan or China, I think the students would rely on the teachers a lot more over there. I think we're fairly, advanced, or pretty good at actually developing freedom of expression in our kids in most classrooms.
That's an interesting point. We tend to be quite hard on ourselves, don't we? You talk about the system, I think. But when you do look overseas, sometimes it's certainly what our kids are willing to do in our system is certainly sometimes a lot better, or more they have more freedom than perhaps in other educational systems. And I don't think you'd see similar things across the States or the UK or wherever you went.
No.
What do you think, Marina?
Yeah, I think we're probably good. We are getting better in New Zealand at making sure our students aren't as reliant on us, and I think we're a bit more open to doing that, because I think you just have to be conscious of it. And I think when you teach online, you are conscious of it. Some of your students are reliant on you, and some students are just self-starters and they'll just go with it. And I mean, this year with my level 1 economics, I've been lucky. I've got a group that are like that, and so for them contributing in Knowledge Forum and exploring producer decisions for themselves without, me lecturing to them, went really well. Yeah.
Thanks for that. I mean, we've got another question. A question here for you, Marina, specifically from Linda, asking, did the students reference each other's ideas in their assessments, or do they mainly use their own ideas?
No, I've been slowly chugging through marking at the moment. They've done really well. They actually do reference each other. Interestingly enough, though, it's the similar names coming through, but yes, they have referenced each other and acknowledged each other's work, so that was really nice to see.
Awesome. Okay, that's interesting actually. I didn't know. I had found that in the past with my students that they were quite happy to reference other students' ideas. Sometimes more reluctant to give the ideas themselves, but would there be anything, what would you do differently next year, Marina?
I think I would not, if I'd use it with the same unit, I'd decrease the number of decisions we looked at, because we look, they're actually only need to be assessed on 2. I looked at 4 to give them a bit more choice, but I really think I'd cut it down to 3. I would make sure I had a lot more of those times in VC where we as a class synthesize our ideas and that sort of thing, so that we did that sort of knowledge building talk, finding those promising ideas. That's what I would do a lot more of with them. And hopefully, I'd probably use it, the whole format. I would certainly use it a lot more, not just in one unit. Use it a lot more so that that was their way of interacting with each other.
Great. I mean, that's the question so far. I mean, what's quite neat is for both case studies, both the examples that you guys have talked about here, is we're looking at connecting kids rather than. I mean, that's the challenge in a way, and that's what this focus for this particular session is on, in a way, is that students don't have to work in isolation when they're working at a distance or online. In fact, actually far from it. You do things a bit differently, perhaps, than you would in a face-to-face classroom, but actually sometimes you can connect them more than perhaps happens often face-to-face. So I suppose I've got the the chance to finish up, and I'll do it rather quickly. The time's been quite good, actually, the way this has worked so far. And I'll just quickly go through and share what I've done with one course just related to connecting kids. And it's quite a different example. So it gives a bit of a variety to what we're talking about, I suppose. So I'll just share my screen. And Marina, you might suddenly appear. I assume you have?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I like doing that to my students. It's rather nasty, but if this is, can you see that all right, Marina?
Yes, I can. Yeah, it's good.
Okay, so like Garry, this is a Google Plus community. It's for my crafting history course, this is not in competition to your course, by the way, Garry. This is not that you thought that. I was just making sure. This is
what it's about.
Yeah, well, it's a project-based course. I've got actually a 10-year-old in here, 10 or 11-year-old. He's a homeschool boy. I've got 2 Year 10s from Over Here College. I've got a group of Year 11s doing Level 1 NCA, and then I've got a Year 12 boy who's at Level 2. And it's designed that they can be at different levels, and it's designed so they can actually be using different standards for what they're doing. But that's been quite a challenge, but that's something for another day. Really, I want to talk about is the community side of things. So the idea is it's a project-based course where they have sort of rather large modules of building where they explore an historical context, and they have to reimagine it by building it using Minecraft. So it's not a chance to replicate historical context. They have to try and reimagine it. The first one they did was looking at the emergence of civilization, how people first settled, and what has been suggested as the first major human settlement was Jericho. And
hey,
so,
Garry,
yes, sorry.
Can I just interrupt you? Somebody's just written up a question there that they can't see your
my screen.
Yeah, all they're looking at is lovely Marina.
Oh, okay. But you can see it fine.
I can. Yep.
Okay. Let's try something here.
Do they have to click on your square down in the bottom?
Just because it's broadcast, it probably wouldn't matter. So that's Joe not seeing a screen. We can still see Marina. Is anyone else out there like that? You can put the question through. It can only see, at the moment you would see Marina because I've got her on there. But if I go out, can someone else just give us a wee quick feed through to see whether you're seeing my screen or not? Then I just have to talk. It shouldn't be a problem at all. Anyone? Linda, Anne, you seeing my screen? I'll just keep going. Sorry, Joe, at least it's sort of recorded, so it will appear, and I won't be in the screen for too long, hopefully, and come back out. If you guys see someone feeding through that someone else can't see the screen as well, just do tell me.
Yep.
So, where was I?
And just saying that she can see your screen.
Great. Okay. So I know what's happening at your end, Joe. Or maybe it's something that you have to click on. I don't know. But anyway, I'll try and get through this reasonably quickly. So we built Jericho, and this last term they're still looking at building their own Roman town. So they have to do a lot of research, looking at the examining what a Roman town would look like. It's actually fairly complicated stuff, and they have to build it. They have to work actively together, which has been quite a major challenge with kids online and at different times, working at different times. What I've found is that video conference, that synchronous time, is really, really important because it's easier to collaborate, to work things out in that environment that is at different times. But this community has basically been the hub for them. This is the place where they go to communicate. They go in here to share their research. You can see it's a lot of them, and it's used for various things. To some extent, it's used for them to share their research, so they actually share what they're learning. So, for example, Tony and Alicia are going to build a Colosseum-type structure in the town. It's going to have to be a lot smaller than the Colosseum. So they're sharing some of the findings of what they found about the Colosseum there, and this provides some evidence for what they're going to build later on. Gideon hears about the Basilica. So we use these categories to try and organise the posts. So if I click on tasking, for example, and they'll show here a student, Daniel, back in the Jericho days in the other module where he's setting up tasks. He's basically taken the lead and said that these are the major tasks we need to do, and students then respond and say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. It's also used for them to log their building, so they say, provide pictures, etc., of what they've done and talk about it. There's been times in various bits and pieces, if I go to Roman Town discussion, where there has been some real working out going on. So that someone's put up some questions, and that's the idea. You know, I'm not sure how to do this, not sure what to do here, what do you think of this, and they should post in here, and then they all actually have a discussion and work it out, and so it provides that point of contact that you would have face to face. It's just they have to be willing to do that, and they're at different times, etc. So the community itself has worked pretty well. This type of environment is perfect for the whole intention behind the course. It really is perfect. It hasn't been perfectly used by the students. There's a lot of learning for both them and me with that, and there's various reasons. So if I come out, just talk quickly, sum up with a couple of things. What I found is that first half of the year, there was a lot of working out going on in that community space. Recently, with the Roman town thing, there's been less of them actually trying to work things out and discuss it. There's been some of it, but they found that a major challenge, and I think it's around actually the whole concept of building the Roman town. What they have to do is actually quite complex, and so there's been a number of them, I think, haven't known where to start in terms of asking questions, and I wouldn't say they've all got a huge amount of initiative. So it's required me to step in a lot over this certainly this term, and to give them some direction. And what we've done is really sort of, they've all decided I'm going to do this build and I'm going to do this, and we've discussed what they're doing. And what I really wanted is for them to take over themselves, and it's as a project really lead it themselves. I think face-to-face, that would be a lot easier. When you're at a distance, it's quite a challenge. But I have learned a few things, I think, for next year. And next year, there's a lot of structures I've put in place in the first term to get them used to doing certain things and working in certain ways, and to encourage them to talk to each other and to actually interact on things rather than just put up posts and share what they're doing. Sorry, I'm just looking at the questions here. So I've come back out because we're seeing my screen. Those of you who weren't able to see my screen, feel free. The video will be broadcast later on. You'll be able to have a look later on if you want to have a look. I'm quite happy as well if anyone wants to have a look at the community. If you can ask me and I can just invite you. You can go and have a look. Other teachers have gone in various communities and things. The students did create that community themselves. Boy Daniel did it. and we've gone from there. So it's the community space itself, the way that's a perfect environment for what we wanted to do. At times it's worked really well with the students, other times it's been a real struggle, but that's more about them and them getting used to be able to really collaborate online, which is a fairly major challenge, but certainly doable. Now,
and what about the age difference? Is that in your class from a 10-year-old, did you say, up to level 2?
Yeah, that's a great question, Gary. I wouldn't have thought of it. I'm glad you asked it, because what's really interesting is the older kids have been worse at it than the younger kids. So the 2 Year 10s at OP have been fantastic. They've been fantastic in terms of expectations around providing the research, and they've been really good in terms of the building and being very active in the community. There's a boy, Josiah, he's the youngest boy. He's homeschooled. Now, he struggled away early on, but it was really more about him, I think, getting into setting routines for himself. And he's been really active this term. In fact, he's been by far the most active student in trying to get things going. And so some of the older kids have struggled more in terms of actually taking initiative and doing stuff. And I've had to prompt them more. And what's been interesting is because they're NCA kids, we have the whole NCA assessment side of things, in the background. So there's that extra push for them to actually be very active. So you would think. But actually, it's the students who are not doing NCA that have done, and maybe that's a reflection of less pressure all around on them on other fronts. What else they're doing in the other courses. I don't know, but yeah, the younger kids, I'd say, actually been better, Gary.
Yeah. Maybe that will say something about our education system.
Well, maybe as they go along, they get more and more pressure to do things certain ways, and they're worried about NCA and all the rest of it. But I mean, I think it sometimes comes down to the kids. Like, I think there's a group of kids here. I've got 8. Now, if I had 15 to 20, it would work really, really well, and it's working okay. It's certainly working fine. I'll be doing it next year. 15 to 20, you can get that critical mass where you've got enough kids who are really going to take the lead and can actually sort of take the initiative, whereas with 8, a bit more of a struggle.
Yeah.
So, any last questions from those others out there? I can hear my kids in the background. I want to thank Gary and Marina. Thanks very much for actually sharing what you've been doing. It's fantastic, and you've actually agreed to be guinea pigs in a way in terms of being the first to do this. And so I actually quite enjoyed the format in terms of us just having a chat and some questions coming through.
Yeah.
And so, what do you think, Gary? You think it'll something worth doing again?
Absolutely, and it's been good for me to learn how to do Google Hangouts at last. So, I've got to be pushed into things, but once I get there, I think, should have been doing this a year ago. Yeah.
What's good is you really used it before, and you came on and you had to work out a few things, but that's quite good for other teachers to see.
Yeah.
You would count yourself as fairly typical in terms of secondary teachers, in terms of your knowledge of technology, wouldn't you?
Is that a compliment?
Well, no, it's not. I don't know. It certainly wasn't as meant as anything that wasn't a compliment, but it's more, I suppose, and certainly Gary has got a fairly good grasp of technology, but it shows that there's many of us who don't have a grasp of everything just like that. It takes time, so you've got to get in. But Hangouts is actually, this environment's not too bad to pick up, I don't think. And no. Gary picked it up after 5 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Now I saw a couple of questions coming through. No, have I missed anything there? Right, I know, it's just a few things. Anne's put through. Thank you, Anne. Yes, so we have another session at another time. I'll bring some other teachers in, and we'll focus on a different area. So, thanks, guys, for actually being guinea pigs and sharing, and it's I've quite enjoyed it, and it's been fairly relaxed, actually.
Yeah.
Got no sense that you got a sort of a sense that people are watching, but also it feels a bit more like they're not.
Yeah. No, it's a good. All right. See you, Dan.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone. I'm going to be stopping the broadcast. I'll see you later.
Bye.
See you later. Thanks. Bye.